morning.
Good morning.
America, not America, is a country, I believe, that believes in sound bites. We latch on to things every day, and this is what we carry forward. This is what we share with others. My presentation this morning is geared towards and about healthcare transformation in the U.S. and in America. Most of you know a term, Obamacare. Everybody goes, oh yeah, you have the things that you want to say about it. But how many of you remember there's an act that's called the Patient Protection Accountability Affordable Act? You hear it shortly as said and used as ACA, Accountability Act. The impetus for the act itself was that it removed the fear that most people who were informed of having pre-existing conditions shared with insurers. That's what that whole act was about. You feared that if you were sick, an insurer would say you are not eligible for our insurance and therefore we're going to give you these higher rates. Nobody remembers that. We remember what's said about Obamacare. I'm going to talk with you this morning shortly and quickly about three different things. I'm going to talk to you about health information technology. I'm going to talk with you about reimbursement. And I'm going to speak to you about the consolidation that's happening in healthcare. It and all three of those you should be aware of. It's not about Obamacare. It's what's happening in the industry. About three and a half years ago, I did a presentation on health information technology. At that time, those of you who were club members, I talked about the transformation being that it's moving from a paper-driven to an automated system. Physicians and providers of all levels were installing electronic health records, thereby automating the process and being able to share with other providers the information about your health information. I also talked to you about, and those of you who weren't here, but I restate, I talked to you about the privacy issues involved here. And that there were check marks and things to make that happen so that your privacy was always maintained. So health information technology was funded by the ARRA Act, which came out at the end of 2009. Many of you heard there was $26 billion that was put out in that everybody or every provider just had to raise their hand and they were going to get a share of that and install the electronic health record. That was not true. That money has continued to flow. Today, about $24 billion has been used for reimbursement for those providers, whether it's yours personally or not, who have installed electronic health systems, and in hospitals, health information systems, the entire back office for it. So those of you who I mentioned at that day, you should look and see, is your provider moving forward? Do they have an electronic health record? Is your record now is it automated or is it still paper-driven? If your provider is not one of those who've moved forward, they're in the back. They are behind. Those of us who live here today, we recognize we live in Florida and we know what the political winds have been in regards to anything dealing with health information exchange in the state. Medicaid held up. The governor refused to receive the money from CMS, which is the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, for use to buy electronic health records for your providers. What you may not be aware of in the consolidation of today's industry in and around you is that it's shrinking. The larger health systems are purchasing the not so large health systems. Thereby, your choice is changing. Your choice changes because your health system that you may be a part of, your provider was part of a network. That network now has been purchased by someone else. Why? American is driven by money. The larger organizations of health systems are able to invest in upgrading the health information technology necessary to recoup reimbursements from Medicare and Medicaid. I don't want to make this technical, but the fact of the matter is, if you listen, there was a huge merger in Florida recently. There is a health system in Naples called HMA, which stands for Healthcare Management Associations. A company, a management firm out of Tennessee called Community Health Systems purchased them for $3.9 billion. Okay? HMA had 72 hospitals throughout eastern U.S. Now think about it. Now that you had choice, that's gone away because CHS will drive what HMA protocols will be. So when you think about what's happening, and if you do think about what's happening in your health care, try to broaden your memory banks. Do a little investigation. Do some due diligence. Think about what it is personally for me that's occurring rather than what the rhetoric that you hear. Because as I said at the very beginning, Americans, not necessarily America, lives off sound bites. So when you think again, try to remember, Patient Protection Accountability Act is truly what Obamacare was in place to take care of. And it really is a good thing. Thanks.